Hi everybody and welcome back to another weekly WOLFF vlog. My name's Joshua and today we're doing our second video on the 6 degrees of freedom whilst pouring latte art. In the first video that we posted last week, we spoke about the 6 degrees of freedom and how it relates to pouring using your jug hand. Now the 6 degrees of freedom is something that's used in robotics and engineering, and it goes to describe the positions of an object within a 360 degree space. And today, we're going to be taking a look at our cup hand and how knowing, using, and controlling the 6 degrees of freedom can improve our latte art in the cup. Now, if you remember from the previous video, the 6 movements were left and right, forwards and back, and up and down, and then we had roll, aim, and tilt. Those movements still apply to your cup hand. However, your X, Y, and Z axes with the cup is fairly stationary. You're not really moving the cup around too much along these axes, and your cup should stay still while pouring. Your jug is going to be doing most of the work there. Just like the analogy of putting pen to paper, the pen itself is moving left to right, up and down, and across the page, whereas the paper itself is fairly stationary. But also making sure that you're not too stiff when holding the cup, because your rotations of your roll, aim, and tilt are really important when pouring latte art. So let's take a look at these 3 and see how they influence latte art whilst pouring. So let's first take a look at your roll. Now what's important here is to make sure your cup is completely flat and level or perpendicular to the ground. You don't want to be rolling your cup inwards or outwards on a slight angle. This will create a really unpredictable turbulence in the cup when you start pouring milk into the cup. And you're most likely going to be pouring down the side of the cup, which again will start to create unexpected and unpredictable turbulence. And this unpredictable turbulence will create havoc when you start to try and glide that milk across the surface of the cup. So making sure that cup is nice, flat and even to begin with is really important to controlling your roll. So let's take a look at aim. And there's only 2 ways to get aim right here. As a left-handed pourer, you're going to be aiming that handle away from you, directly away from you, and pouring across the cup. And for a right-handed pourer, you're going to be aiming that handle directly towards you and pouring across the cup that way. If you follow either of those 2 ways, then you're going to make sure that when you deliver the cup of coffee and the handle is on the right-hand side, that the pattern is going to be facing directly the customer. And that's how we get our aim right. So now let's take a look at tilt. Now tilt is one of those degrees that if you get it right, you start to see large, beautiful patterns emerge. Getting it wrong, and it'll be really difficult to get good latte art. Tilting a cup is really important from the get-go. The reason for this is we want to make sure we're sinking our milk under the crema. And the best way to do this without washing out that beautiful rich crema is by pouring into the deep end. So by holding the cup on an angle, we create a deep end in our crema. Making sure that we can pour into that is the key. Keeping that angle will also help us get closer to the surface of the coffee. So first off, there is a period of mixing in our milk, and that's bringing the surface of our crema up. It's getting the milk underneath the crema, and it's creating a surface that we can start to pour latte art on. You'll start to see that the tilt of our cup mirrors the tilt of our jug. So as we pour out the milk in our jug, we're tilting back our cup almost at the same angle. You don't want to be tilting your cup back to 180 degrees, not until you've fully filled that cup up and you're pulling through. If you've started pouring at a really nice angle and then halfway through the pour, flip to 180 degrees, what you're essentially doing is cutting off the ability for your jug to get close to the surface of the crema. So it's really important to try and maintain a really nice angle for as long as possible. And essentially what you're trying to do is keep the liquid at the front of the cup, almost at the edge the whole time. This takes a lot of control. Again, I've always found tilt to be the hardest to perfect. But with practice, makes perfect. So controlling the tilt is really important when creating latte art. So there are two more things I'd like to mention in this video. First, I'd like to bring attention to the different shaped cups that are out there. The different shapes will determine on how you hold and use those 6 degrees. The first shaped cup you'll see is something like a straight up and down, like this glass here, or a takeaway cup, or even those good old home mugs. When pouring into these, make sure you pour on a nice tight angle, and you're probably going to need to wait a little bit further up the cup before you start adding your latte art. If not on an angle, you create too much turbulence at the bottom of the cup. These Tulip Cups, so they're thinner at the bottom and thicker at the top. My experience with these, I've found there's a weird turbulence about halfway up as the thickness of the cup starts to open up. So I usually wait about 1/3 of the way up, or at least until the opening starts to thicken out before I start pouring my latte art. But they have a beautiful wide opening, so you can create larger, more intricate patterns. And the bowl shape. The bowl I find is the most consistent. I have more predictability with the turbulence in this cup. It might not have a greater opening as the tulip, but I find this is the easiest for me to learn and begin pouring in with. And the last thing I'd like to mention. Now, I probably should have mentioned this at the start of the video. And this is anytime you're handling the cups, just make sure that you're not putting your hands anywhere around the lip of the cup. So that's about an inch and a half from the top of the cup. This is for hygienic reasons. And I think if I was a customer and I saw your hands all over the lip where I was about to drink from, I'd be less inclined to be drinking from your cafe. So for hygienic reasons, please make sure you keep your hands away from the top of the cup. Well, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. Please add comments below. Hit subscribe so you can get our video notifications each week. Hit like if you like this video, and jump on our website. We now ship worldwide. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.